Ciao, welcome to Network. My name is Pumela Zonde with your technology and social media news. I'm at the International Convention Center at the Chief Albert Luthuli Precinct in Durban, where Powering Alternative Mobility Africa is taking place. These are alternative vehicles that do not use the fuel that we normally use. We'll tell you all about that later in the program. But remember that you can find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Use network at SABC.co.za on email. This week our Twitter poll is asking you if you stream this, as Netflix is clamping down on people who are sharing passwords. So results of that are coming up later in the program. Here's what's coming up in this particular episode. We tell you about alternatives to the fuel that we use for our vehicles. We find out a bit more about e-hailing services. And in our conversation, we chat about the ethics of artificial intelligence. What we're seeing here at Mobility Solutions Africa is that there are various uses of electric and hydrogen vehicles. These electric vehicles, for example, can be used in policing, as they're being showcased here. Those that are organizing this event say they want the conversation to start on how electric cars can be used beyond in the home.
Transport contributes approximately 27% of the emissions, CO2 emissions here in South Africa. Therefore, we are of the view that we need to be part of the discussions that aim to contribute towards the reduction of CO2 emissions.
This is basically an electrical motor. So here, as you can see, this is basically the motor that controls everything on the electric vehicle. You've got all the cables and pipes going through. If you come here, you basically see that the orange cables are your high voltage cables, right? The electric motor is basically solely responsible for converting and distributing your kinetic energy into the vehicle, so the vehicle is able to drive from here, right? And as far as you can see, there's no more oil change, no more pistons, no more valves. Basically, what you can see there is your brake fluid. You still got to have that for your brakes. Here is basically the fluid for the battery to keep the battery running and basically operating as smoothly as possible. And there is basically your windscreen washer fluid, right? Now, what you see over there, that's not your main battery for the vehicle. It's a 12-volt battery that basically controls the minor entertainment elements like your lights and your screen, all of that, right? The main battery for the vehicle is underneath the vehicle towards the middle, basically.
Electric motors can be put to any kind of an instrument or something that can transport people. I can share this with you. I noted that in some safaris in Africa, they are now using electric vehicles to move around their guests. How friendly is that to the environment, to the animals? Those are much more quieter vehicles. They even use electric boats, to transport their guests.
We are using 3pin plugs to even plug them in. And for a fully charged bike, you only use 5 rand of your tariff cost of your electrical bill. So anybody can have them.
You have hydrogen-driven vehicles. There is a debate as to which one's the best. Personally, I think electric vehicles are the future, looking at what is happening in the world.
This is the charging cable for it, and
What you probably won't see some of the vehicles that are showcasing here at the Mobility Solutions Africa event. You'd realize that there's now various methods for you to get home, and this includes e-hailing services. But this is a very difficult industry to get into. There are local players that have come in and folded even before they've taken off. You probably would think about Yo Taxi, where the minibus taxi industry in Durban said they're going to come together to launch Yo Taxi, branded a couple of vehicles, then they just didn't launch. There was Taxi Life Africa, which seemed to launch, but slowly fizzled out. Then Didi from China also came into the South African market. They didn't stay very long, but Uber and Bolt seem to have stayed for a much longer period. But what are the challenges in the e-hailing services, and what are the new players coming in bringing that those that came and folded couldn't bring?
E-hailing industry in Africa has experienced significant growth in recent years. With the rise of platforms such as Bolt and Uber, the industry has disrupted traditional taxi services locally and created new job opportunities. However, with growth comes challenges.
We got to a point where we felt enough is enough. We've been exploited for so long. I mean, Uber has been in South Africa for so long. We pay tax on the Uber platform, but the government is still saying we are not legal or there are no regulations, but yet we are paying tax. So who are we paying the tax to?
E-hailing drivers say their industry has become tainted by unscrupulous criminals who easily enter their platforms because of weak vetting systems.
Many drivers sit without vehicles and they've got a profile sitting not working. Then they begin to rent those profiles out and there's no control as to who those profiles are being rented out to. And then this is where criminality comes into industry.
Now, there are new taxi e-hailing apps that are coming up and challenging the marketplace.
Boza Ride is a South African e-hailing application, and we are here to make sure that we compete, and we are here to make sure that our riders are safe, our drivers are well compensated, and there is convenience in the e-hailing application.
They say they are tapping into the space in a bid to give Uber and Bolt a run for their money.
So what we've done is we've gone to the market. We've spent, I think, about 6 to 7 months studying the market. We've talked to a number of drivers and a number of riders, and we came up with a very compelling value proposition that there is a need for another player in the market. So we came up with a compelling value proposition for riders as well as drivers that we see as our partners. And that value proposition talks to the current challenges around the e-hailing business at the moment. It talks to safety, which is one of the most critical ones. It talks to convenience, and it also talks to fair pricing.
Local e-hailing startup Boza Ride has become the latest ride-hailing to launch in Johannesburg with plans to expand nationally.
We are not rushing to say we've got 500 drivers and therefore they should all get on the platform so that we can push numbers. I'm saying no, guys. We need to vet the drivers because it talks to safety. And if we as Boza Ride are failing to vet the drivers, we have shot ourselves in the foot.
Although small competitors may offer cheaper services, many customers may still prefer Uber and Bolt, as these companies have established stronger brands and larger driver networks.
The Ubers are very convenient. They pick you up in front of your door, they deliver you in front of your destination.
Those in the industry say that e-hailing presents significant opportunities for growth, but companies operating in this space must navigate regulatory challenges, competition, and safety concerns to succeed.
All right, let's shift away from technology that involves vehicles now and look at the Bambanani app. The Bambanani app helps parents track the progress of their children. It's for early childhood development.
Our Bambanani app is an extension of the curriculum. So our curriculum is provided in manual form, but the app is an extension of this curriculum, and it covers all the outcomes that children are required to cover between the ages of 2 and 6 years old, because those are fundamental years for a child. So not only is it important to extend them cognitively, at the same time we also want to expose them to technology.
So the app is built for the children. So there's the whole platform. On the one side you've got the children. The children will utilize the actual Bambanani app, which they will log in using a little barcode, which is their learner number. And as they log in, they will be met by a roadmap through a safari. That was the interface. Depending on what week we are in the year, so if we're now in week 16 of the year, the children would be able to click on week 16 and start playing a set of multiple types of games, depending on their age group, depending on their curriculum. They can start off by playing, for example, they'll play a 4-piece puzzle, then there'll be an 8-piece puzzle after that, then there might be a tracing game after that, and each module and each age group and each curriculum that the child will play, depending on where they are, will be playing different games in the educational games in the class. So at the moment there's 7 different types of games. There's the sequencing, puzzles, associate the object, find the object, tracing, etc. On the other side of the equation, so that's the kids, that's the easy interface. But in the background, there's a lot happening. There are the different curriculums that have been set up. There's the different age groups. They're all the learners, which class they're in, what schools they're part of. We've got game creation. So without any technical or coding knowledge, an ATB team member can create a puzzle. In other words, all they have to do is log into the system, so not the children's system, the content creator portal on the web app. They will insert a puzzle, how many pieces they want the puzzle to be basically cut into, the time limit, the attempt limit, and the system itself, using intelligence, will create that puzzle. So it's like having a designer, a coder, and a teacher all in your back pocket.
SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za. On email. After the break, we chat about the ethics of AI. Now, it is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za. On email. Welcome back. Now, a photographer in Germany has turned down a prize for a photograph that he was believed to have taken. He says this is because it was AI generated and he did not actually quite take the photograph. He does, however, say that he had entered the photograph for the prize because he wanted to spark a debate. And when it comes to music, streaming platforms have been taking down songs that sound pretty much like pop star rapper Drake. And it turns out that those songs have also been AI generated. AI has been a big talking point this year, coming from what we know in the journalism field and in academia as well, when ChatGPT was said to write essays pretty much like humans without anyone being able to spot differences, and that happened in December. To talk to us about the ethics of AI is academic and lecturer at the Durban University of Technology, Dr Tigere Muringa. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr Muringa. Is AI dangerous?
No, not really. We cannot safely conclude that AI is dangerous. Why? Because we've seen a lot of advances that has been brought by the introduction of AI, particularly learning softwares and chatbots. So to say it is dangerous, I think it would be a bit naive, but rather AI has brought advances specifically in research, where you can see that research has been made better with the use of these learning chatbots. You see in terms of business, businesses are collecting data, big data, using AI tools. So in a nutshell, I would say AI cannot be deemed or should not be perceived as a dangerous advancement. Rather, it should be seen as one way to enhance and augment the human capabilities. However, also we can see that AI has brought with it a lot of challenges that it has also brought on the fore. For example, there are fears that the advances in AI will displace human jobs, will displace skilled people away from their jobs, and things like job losses and socio-economic impacts that it would have on employment. However, despite these fears, I think in a nutshell, would safely conclude that AI is not in itself dangerous. Rather, it should be embraced to augment and enhance human capabilities.
Should there be ethical guidelines and perhaps even policies to govern the use of artificial intelligence?
I strongly believe that, with the advances in AI, government and other stakeholders should come up with what I term as the multi-stakeholder approach, where the different stakeholders that are involved, the community, the end user, the producers, the developers of this AI, should come together in a collaborative way to come up with different policies and guidelines so that we can regulate the effective use and safe use of AI. For example, I think in the development of these policies and guidelines, they need to look at the issue of transparency. There should be transparency in how these AI are developed. The developers, the users, and those who deploy AI should be transparent enough so that this will go a long way in advancing and in ensuring trust.
Should the work produced by AI be allowed to live side by side the work that's produced by humans?
I think the work that is produced by AI should indeed exist side by side. Why I'm saying it should exist side by side is because if we take the human-centered approach in developing, deploying and use of AI, what will actually happen is that you'd find that the human innovation that they have, it has some limitations, and the AI will be used and will take that form, the limitation that faced by the human innovation and human capabilities. So as a result, we would find that if we employ it in research, it will augment findings, it will augment decision making, it will enhance the processes and limit time, saving cost, saving time in business. Data analytics, you collect a huge and massive data for decision making purposes and for advertisers. So these are the things that humans cannot do. But when we bring in AI, they can be done efficiently and they can be done in a very fast and cost-effective manner.
At which point is the use of AI considered cheating?
Well, I would say the use of AI can be considered cheating. That decision should be reached when one looks at the context within which AI is used. That decision should also be reached when one looks at the society, at the rules and the guidelines that guides and regulates the space within which the person who has used AI is using. But at one point, I would say, when somebody uses AI in an unfair advantage, for example, you are using AI in a competition where your competitors are not using AI and they are not familiar with AI, then you use AI to enhance your products.
Dr. Muringa, AI won't go away anytime soon. Will we see a point when it perhaps replaces humans and the work that's done by humans?
I strongly agree that AI won't go away. The same way social media came through and it is within us and we stay with us and we utilize it for various purposes and intents. So AI won't go away, rather it is actually advancing at a very, very fast pace. I'll tell you that each and every day there are more than 500 AI tools that are produced and that are released on a daily basis. So AI really doesn't go away. So what we need to do as humans, we need to come up with approaches that integrate human capabilities and AI.
All right, Dr. Tigere Muringa, thank you very much for being a part of our network. Interesting discussion that on the ethics of artificial intelligence. It's a brand new world. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Stay with us. It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. As I drive around this electric vehicle in the streets of Durban, it's pretty silent, actually. You can tell that there is no engine. You're almost scared of moving around in it because you think that it's not moving at all. But here's what else took place in the rest of the world in the technology space.
Last year, Chris Kashanova typed instructions for a graphic novel into a new artificial intelligence program and touched off a high-stakes debate over who created the artwork, a human or an algorithm. Kashanova received a copyright in September and declared on social media that it meant artists were entitled to legal protection for their AI art projects. It didn't last long. In February, the US Copyright Office suddenly reversed itself and Kashanova became the first person to be stripped of legal protection for AI art. The question then remains, who owns the rights to AI-generated art?
I am not that upset about the decision because I'm realistic. It's a very new technology. People are afraid of it. I wouldn't expect. The Copyright Office probably has other things to do, other cases. It's not just me trying to copyright it.
To test how human control will satisfy the Copyright Office, Kashanova is planning to submit a series of copyright applications for individual images chosen from the new autobiographical comic, each one made with a different AI program, setting, or method. Moving to the USA, this is Artemis, the soccer-playing humanoid robot with the first of its kind technology. Artemis was developed by mechanical engineers at the Robotics and Mechanism Laboratory of UCLA.
I have a dream. In the future, I would like to live with robots. Robots in the home, doing the dishes, taking out the trash. How cool would that be? But I claim that for robots to be living with us in this environment, the robot needs to be human shape and human size, or humanoid robots, because this environment is designed for humans. Like when you climb upstairs, the step height is such because for humans to walk up, or the door handle is a certain height for humans to open up. So unless the robot is a humanoid robot, it won't be able to navigate this environment.
The robot's major innovation is that its actuators, devices that generate motion from energy, were custom designed to behave like biological muscles. They springly and force controlled, as opposed to the rigid position controlled actuators that most robots have. Going out of space, NASA plans to send astronauts to Mars sometime in the 2030s, but before takeoff, the space agency will observe the effects of a 4-person crew staying in a simulated Mars habitat for about 1 year. Located at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, the Crew Health and Performance Exploration Analog is a 3D printed structure with 4 small bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a work area adjacent to a robot station, an exercise room, a medical room, and an exterior sandy area scattered with various instruments designed to mimic the surface of Mars.
Part of the activities for a Mars mission would be, besides the geology and exploration, building and maintaining that infrastructure for life on Mars, for human life on Mars. So for humans to come and future missions to come, they want to start building out that infrastructure.
Douglas says the 3D printed construction of the Mars habitat is a building process NASA plans to explore for space infrastructure. In social media news, Twitter has finally removed the legacy verification checkmarks. The change means that only paying Twitter Blue subscribers will retain a blue checkmark next to their name. Before Elon Musk acquired the platform, verification was given out to users in media and government, or those at heightened risk of impersonation.
That's a pretty smooth drive, very silent. Now, as Netflix is clamping down on people who are sharing passwords, this week our Twitter poll is asking you whether you watch any content on streaming platforms and whether you even pay for it. That's all we have for you. Find us on the SABC Network, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Use network at sabc.co.za. On email from me, Spumelele Zondi, and the rest of the team at Alternative Mobility Africa. Have a good one. Bye-bye.